In every person, there is a crack, or many cracks. That is how the light of God seeps in. Elizabeth Gilbert. In the life of the soul, a person is not a perfect, smooth, and impenetrable block of stone. On the contrary, each of us carries within ourselves cracks, sometimes an old pain, an unhealed failure, a loss, or simply a feeling of fragility before life. But it is those very cracks that give depth to a person. For if the soul were a sealed room, perfect, without any gaps, then light would have no way to enter. The crack is no longer a sign of weakness, but becomes the door of grace, like a cracked pottery vase. But it is that very crack that allows light to pass through and make the vase shine from within. Pain, therefore, is not just darkness. It is where light begins to learn how to appear. People who have gone through brokenness often have a deeper capacity for empathy. They understand others' sorrow, not through theory, but through the memories of their own heart. A person who has never been broken may be strong, but one who has been broken and then rises again has depth. The crack transforms them from a cold stone into a piece of land where seeds can be sown. A seed. To become a tree, it must crack open. If the seed's shell tries to maintain absolute integrity, the life inside will die silently. People are the same. The moments when we think we are shattering before life are sometimes exactly when our inner life begins to grow. Instead of being ashamed of our cracks, we can learn to look at them with gratitude. Each crack is a story, a lesson, a small doorway where the light of God gently touches the soul. And when that light passes through, it not only heals us, it also makes us a gentle source of light for others who are walking in darkness. The true beauty of a person does not lie in flawless perfection, but in how they allow light to pass through their most fragile parts. For sometimes, the place we once thought was our weakness turns out to be the most sacred in the soul, where the light of God begins to radiate. When we strive to become better than ourselves, everything around us also becomes better. Paulo Coelho. The world we see is not only made from external matter, but is also reflected through the lens of our inner self. When the mind changes, reality seems to change color as well. If its light is faint, everything around appears dim and cold. But when the lamp is lit brighter through growth, patience, and the will to improve oneself, the same room becomes warm, clear, and more comfortable. Not because the room has changed, but because the source of light is different. Every effort at self-improvement creates a ripple effect. When a person learns to be calmer, the conversations around them become less tense. When a person learns to be kinder, the relationships around them become softer. And when a person begins to live more meaningfully, they unintentionally become a positive magnet, drawing good things closer to themselves. The interesting thing is that this change often begins very quietly, like tending a garden. The gardener cannot command the flowers to bloom, but they can improve the soil, water it, and let the sunlight shine in. And then, one day, the garden naturally becomes vibrant. Life is the same. When we care for our inner soil thoughts, emotions, character, the flowers of opportunity, friendship, and joy begin to appear. Striving to become better is not a race with others. It is a quiet dialogue between yesterday's self and tomorrow's self. Each small step forward, a more positive thought, a kinder action, a braver decision, is like a stone placed on the bridge leading to maturity. As that bridge gradually completes, not only do we cross it, those around us also feel its solidity. They are inspired, supported, and sometimes illuminated by our silent journey. Improving oneself is not a selfish act turned inward, but a quiet way to make the world better. For when one soul becomes brighter, the entire space around it begins to warm up. And in that warmth, life suddenly becomes much gentler. Motivation is the fire from within. If someone else tries to light that fire in you, it might only burn for a very short time. Stephen R. Covey. People are often easily swept along by others' encouragement, a compliment, an inspiring speech, or the expectant eyes of family. Those things are like a gust of wind fanning a flame, but if there are no embers inside, that flame will extinguish as soon as the wind passes. External excitement is often brilliant but fleeting. It is like fireworks blazing in a moment, then quickly falling into darkness. In contrast, motivation from within is like a hearth smoldering throughout winter. It doesn't need to flare up fiercely, but it is persistent enough to keep warm for the long journey. When a person truly understands why they do something, when the goal touches their deepest values, they don't need anyone behind them pushing. The inner fire will find its own way to burn. In life, many people confuse being inspired with having motivation. Inspiration is like lightning in the sky. It awakens us in a moment. But true motivation is like the sun, silent, steady, and rising every day. Lightning may surprise us, but only the sun helps trees grow. The interesting thing is that the inner fire is often born from very personal things. An unfulfilled dream, a pain to overcome, a desire to prove one's worth, or simply the joy of living true to oneself. When those things crystallize, they become fuel for a durable kind of energy, the kind that needs no supervision, no cheering. Instead of seeking others to light the fire for you, it is more important to turn inward and ask, what truly moves your heart? When the answer appears, you will realize the fire was never outside. It has always been there, in the depths of the soul, waiting for you to gently blow on it with understanding, patience, and faith. And once that fire burns from within, it not only illuminates your path, but is also warm enough to warm those walking beside you on life's journey. The secret to success is to start. The secret to starting is to break down overwhelming, complex tasks into smaller, more manageable ones. Then begin with the first. Mark Twain. There are moments in life when people stand before a colossal mountain of work and feel as small as a grain of sand in the desert. The mind immediately erects invisible walls: fear, procrastination, self-doubt. But in the depths of human psychology, that fear often stems not from the real difficulty, but from how we view the entire burden at once. When our eyes see only the mountain peak, our feet hesitate. But when we look at each stone step right in front, the path suddenly becomes walkable. That is the subtle law of motivation. The mind doesn't need a grand victory immediately. It just needs a clear starting step. When a massive task is broken into small pieces, it is like dividing an ocean into drops of water. Each drop is light, transparent, and graspable. Each small completion is like a spark igniting the will, making the brain sense progress and arousing positive energy. In essence, the journey to success is rarely a spectacular leap. It is like dawn spreading across the sky. At first, just a thin streak of light on the horizon, but little by little, that light spreads, dispelling the darkness. When people understand the art of starting from small things, they are no longer threatened by the enormity of the goal. Instead, they walk with serenity and confidence, knowing that each small step today is a silent brick building the great achievements of tomorrow. The important thing is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule what you prioritize. Stephen Covey. In modern life, many people look at their packed schedules as if they are proof of busyness and efficiency. But if observed through the lens of psychology, we notice a subtle paradox. Not everything on the schedule is truly important. People sometimes resemble a rower on the river of time, swept along by appointments, notifications, minor responsibilities, to the point of forgetting where they are heading. When we simply order the things already on the schedule, we are letting life lead us. But when we proactively place the most important values, health, learning, family, dreams on the schedule first, we become the architect of our own time. It is like planting ancient trees before scattering small pebbles. If done in reverse, the garden will be crowded with trivialities, and the great things will have no room to grow. When the things we truly value are clearly marked on the schedule, the mind senses direction and control. It creates a source of positive energy, making each day not a chain of passive reactions to work, but a purposeful journey. And then, people do not live just to complete appointments. They live to nurture what truly makes life meaningful. Reflect on what you do in a day. You may never have realized that some simple, seemingly harmless activities are taking away your precious time. Vivek Naik, in the familiar flow of a day, people often live as if walking on a path so familiar that they no longer notice each step. We wake up, scroll on the phone for a few minutes, chat a bit, watch another short video, then move to something else. Everything happens lightly, harmlessly, almost leaving no trace in the mind. But if viewed through the eyes of a psychological observer, we realize time doesn't vanish in great storms. It often dissipates like morning mist under the sun, silently and almost unnoticed. Rambling conversations without purpose, or small moments of procrastination, all like grains of sand gradually falling from life's hourglass. Each grain alone is insignificant, but when accumulated, they can fill an entire afternoon, even a year. Notably, the human mind is easily lulled by immediate comfort. It favors light, quick activities that bring entertainment, even if the price is missing greater opportunities. However, this realization is not to create guilt, but like turning on a light in the dark room of habits. When the light of awareness appears, we begin to see clearly how we are using each hour of the day. And from there, people can gently adjust the rudder of their life, reduce the meaningless, dedicate more time to learning, creating, and what truly makes the soul grow. For time is not just numbers on a clock. It is the silent material shaping our life. Creativity involves breaking established patterns to look at things in a different way. Edward de Bono. In the spiritual life of humans, habits are like well-trodden paths. They allow us to move faster, but also unwittingly limit our view to old trails. The mind, accustomed to a certain way of thinking, often builds invisible frames to interpret the world. That's why many people look at the same thing, but only see the familiar, like someone walking in a garden every day without noticing the beauty of the blooming flowers. In the depths of creative thinking, the important thing is not to find something entirely new from nothing, but to dare step out of the familiar frameworks of perception. When people have the courage to temporarily leave old ways of thinking, the world suddenly opens unexpected perspectives. A problem, once thought deadlocked, can become simple with a new approach. Like changing your standing position instantly transforms the scenery. Creativity in that moment is like gently twisting a kaleidoscope. The colored pieces remain the same, but the image formed is completely different. It is that subtle shift in perspective that creates breakthrough ideas, inventions, artworks that astonish humanity. Creativity is not the privilege of geniuses, but the ability to liberate thinking from the rigidity of habits. When we learn to question the obvious, dare to view problems from another angle, the mind becomes more flexible and vibrant. And in that moment, people not only find new solutions to problems, but also discover a beautiful truth. The world is always much larger than the frames we once thought were its limits. We spend precious hours fearing the inevitable. It would be wiser to use that time to love our family, cherish our friends, and enjoy life. Maya Angelou. People. Worry often resembles a long shadow on the ground. The more we chase it, the larger it feels. Humans have a strange tendency to spend much time thinking about things they cannot change. We worry about the future, about loss, about possible events, like standing before the ocean, trying to stop each wave with our hands. But life's waves will come regardless of our worries. And while we are engrossed in dialogue with fear, the precious moments of the present slip away like sand through our fingers. People begin to change their view of time. Instead of expending energy on bleak scenarios, we return to what exists: a warm meal, a sincere conversation, a familiar smile. Those things, at first glance, seem small, but they are the silent threads weaving life's meaning. When we shift attention from worry to gratitude and love, the mind becomes lighter and more open. Life is no longer a series of days haunted by uncertainties, but a garden of moments worth cherishing. And then, people realize something beautiful. We cannot control everything that will happen in the future, but we can always choose to live fully with those beside us today. The least you can do in life is figure out what you hope for, and the most you can do is live inside that hope. Not admire it from a distance, but live right in it, under its roof. Barbara Kingsolver. People, hope is like a small lamp lit in the night of the unknown. Some go through life without ever stopping to ask what they truly await, like a boat adrift at sea without a compass. Therefore, the first step, simple yet profoundly meaningful, is to recognize what the heart is aiming for. The least you can do in life is figure out what you hope for. When a person names their hope, they have placed a star in the spiritual sky to guide future steps. But life is not built on stationary dreams alone. Many keep hope like a beautiful painting on the wall. They gaze at it, admire it, but never step closer. Like not just looking at a lighthouse from the shore, but bravely rowing out to sea to follow its light. When people turn hope into their living environment, every daily action begins to carry meaning. Difficulties are no longer mere obstacles, but stepping stones to what we believe in. Hope, then, is no longer a vague thought, but a spiritual space where we breathe, think, and act. And in that space, people feel a special energy, the sense that their life is not just passing by, but step by step approaching what the heart has chosen to believe. Hope can be a powerful force. Maybe there's no actual magic in it, but when you know what you hope for most and hold it like a light within you, you can make things happen, almost like magic. Laini Taylor. A small but persistent spark burning in the depths of the soul. At first glance, it seems fragile, not a mystical magic that can instantly change reality. But the true power of hope lies not in immediate wonder, but in keeping the human heart moving forward. When a person clearly understands what they hope for most, that hope becomes a solid psychological anchor. It is like a flame, carefully guarded in the palm. The more protected, the brighter it burns. And when you hold that hope like a light within you, the mind begins to change its view of difficulties. Obstacles are no longer roadblocks, but challenges to overcome. Hope silently turns fatigue into perseverance, doubt into determination, and today's small steps into the foundation for tomorrow. The miracle happens when hope is strong enough to shape human actions. We begin to think differently, choose differently, persist longer, and dare to try again after failure. It is that chain of persistent actions that truly creates change in reality. And then, looking back at the path traveled, we suddenly realize something beautiful. What was once vague hope has gradually become vivid reality. At that point, it is almost like magic. Not because magic exists in hope, but because hope has ignited the hidden strength within us humans.